What is up, everybody, and welcome to part 3 of our F1 2019 career mode at McLaren. We have a couple of new upgrades for our car as we head to the second event on the 2019 calendar at Bahrain. The rookie lineup of ourselves and Lando Norris got a double result in the first race of the season and our careers at Australia, and that doesn't even tell the full story. That race was an instant classic. If you guys saw the previous episode, there were interchangeable conditions. We ultimately ended up pulling out a P5 out of our hat out of nowhere. Norris got himself a P8, and that wasn't even the biggest story. The biggest story, of course, was the three-wide battle for the win between Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes, Charles Leclerc's Ferrari in his Ferrari debut, and Mad Max Verstappen, who ended up winning the race in his Red Bull. First of all, the fact that there was a three-wide battle in Formula 1 is kind of unbelievable, and the fact that it happened on the final lap is definitely unprecedented. As you guys see, we're getting some practice sessions in, free practice 1, free practice 2, and free practice 3. I'm literally only doing so I can get resource points to help the McLaren upgrade, so our double rookie lineup can get some better cars to compete with the mid-pack and maybe one day even the top teams. We'll see how that goes. Maybe not this season, but we're going to work at it as we hit the curb, and that's going to send us for a loop. And that's not the first time we have spun. If you've been paying attention to these practice sessions, it's like the third or fourth time. But that is what practice is all about. Finding how much you can push the car, push the limits, and push these curbs on the track. And if you do spin out, you know not to do that in the race. So that's what I want to do in practice. I want to push the car for all it's worth, because the last thing I want to do is hit one of those curbs in the race and throw our race away, because hey, practice makes perfect. What can I say? It's not something I would have done if there weren't resource points on the line, but I'm kind of glad it's going on right now. So once again, we're going to do one-shot qualifying because I don't want to spend so much time on qualifying. We're spending a lot of time in practice, first of all. Doing all the practice sessions takes a toll. It takes like a half hour in my own time. So I'm like, you know what, man? I'm not spending another half hour on qualifying. One-shot qualifying. Let's get it. Let's see what the pace is looking like as we round out the first corner. Early on, the interval says P10, P11. So, and now we're dropping back to P15. I guess part of that might be the straight line speed of this McLaren, which is not too good. As we go into the second sector, which is definitely more of a technical sector, we'll see what our delta is looking like. And early on, P7, which is pretty amazing. P6 even. I guess we're ahead of Gasly. We're ahead of one of the front runners, which must be Pierre Gasly. But either way, the fact that we're even in contention to be around the front runners says a lot about ourselves, and maybe more about ourselves and the difficulty that we're racing on right now. We are on 90 out of 110, as I alluded to in the first two episodes, and we might have to up that difficulty up. As I was doing this qualifying session, that's all I could really think about. Like, I'm thinking, like, first of all, damn, I'm putting together a pretty good lap to be in P6 right now, but also, like, maybe this is a little bit too weak. I don't know, man. I'll try to figure out how our pace is looking like on race day. It was hard to tell in Australia. We had a decent qualifying result. We were P10, but we also out-qualified Lando Norris by a couple of tenths. We'll see what the stopwatch says, but I can only assume we're out-qualifying Norris, considering we've been flapping around between P5 and P6 as we get a not-so-great exit. I want to see if Bahrain's just a good track for me. Maybe not, considering I just drove off the track there, but we are going to qualify in 6th out of 20, but more importantly, that's the best of the rest. It has to be the best of the rest, and it has to be probably ahead of Pierre Gasly. We'll see what the results say, and they do say that Gasly is in P10, Norris is in P11. We out-qualified Norris by 7/10 of a second, pretty much. So that's a lot. That indicates that we might have to up the difficulty. So we'll see how the race goes, but, you know, maybe I might give it a couple of weeks, and if we're still just out-qualifying Norris by a lot and, you know, even competing, like, we're not passing a Mercedes, but, you know, being within 3/10 of qualifying, I might up the difficulty to, like, 95 and see how that goes, because I don't know, I guess we're a little bit better at the game than I thought. Maybe these practice sessions are really helping me get, you know, a couple of tenths off the car that I never got before when I'd race. I would just hop into a race. I don't know. Either way, you see some of our progress here. We're racking up the R&D points, which means that we will try to apply a couple more upgrades that will hopefully go through for the next race at China. Of course, there is a chance for these upgrades to fail. Pretty good one, in fact, so it's kind of a gamble to see if those upgrades go through or not, so our resource points could be gone for absolutely nothing. But without further ado, it's race day. Let's go to Bahrain.
The curtain rises once more then on the desert stage of Sakir as the players take their places for the opening act. Will they enthrall us like they did in 2014 with that titanic battle between Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton? Well, we'll find out shortly as we get underway here in Bahrain. There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1 of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. Bahrain has showed us many times in the past though, Anthony Davidson, that a good strategy will only take you so far. Beyond that, you need good racecraft and you need good consistency.
And a little bit of luck too, I'd say. This is one of those circuits where the safety car always seems to come out just at the right time to condense the field together and mix up the cars on different strategies. It's hard on brakes, it's tough on fuel, and the main overtaking opportunity is down into turn 1, where it's easy to outbrake your opponent and potentially have a bit of argy-bargy as well.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion. And it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Cook, Perez, Hülkenberg, Butler and Pierre Gasly. Norris, Weber, Romain Grosjean and Raikkonen. Russell, Magnussen, Daniel Ricciardo and Robert Kubica, Albon. And Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
It's time for a nighttime race. Here we go, 5 red lights lining up, getting ready to take off. 20 F1 cars about to barrel off into turn 1, led by Sebastian Vettel. Ourselves in P6, looking to defend and maybe even launch up a position or 2. Looking at the inside of Hamilton here, close to making contact. We actually hit wheels momentarily, trying to separate, and as we do, we actually get the momentum off the corner, and we are ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton looking to fight back, looking inside. We're going to give him the space, but Hamilton's not going to take the chance. We get some good acceleration off the corner, and after an eventful start, we are in 5th place, which is where we finished in the last race. I said in the last race, don't expect top 5s. Well, maybe I underestimated ourselves. I don't know. Maybe I underestimated this McLaren. I'm not too sure. Maybe I underestimated the AI by putting them at 90 difficulty. We'll only find out by running this race and seeing exactly how it unfolds. So I don't expect to keep Lewis Hamilton behind me. I don't really want Lewis Hamilton behind me, to be honest. That wasn't the objective, to overtake him. That was more of being in survival mode. I just wanted to go to the inside and protect my car, and Lewis just happened to be there as I tried to turn at the apex, and I was really trying to get off of him. When we were locking wheels, the last thing I wanted to do was lock into wheels with him, and we got stuck together. I was trying to get off of him, and in the process, it actually slowed him down, and somehow, someway, we're in P5. Like I said, I didn't really want this to happen, but this is the situation we're in, and I'm not going to complain about it by any means. We are still keeping up with Leclerc, not really falling too far off the pace, so that's a bit promising as Vettel puts in a 134.7 on the first lap. Obviously, that fastest lap will come down. Remember, starting this year, the fastest lap in the race, if you are in the top 10, will reward you an extra point. So the top teams will keep that in mind, not necessarily us. We're not really going to be competing for the fastest lap in any race for the foreseeable future. But as this race calms down, we look like we are just, you know, ever so politely slotted in P5, which was the way the last race ended once we got passed by Bottas. But of course, we have a Mercedes behind us. So while things have calmed down, let's check out the start once again to see exactly what happened here. You see, I was going to try to defend from, I believe, Hülkenberg, but Hülkenberg didn't really get that great of a start. We just took it inside because that's just the safest place to be, and I ended up mounting the curb. I tried to do whatever I could to stay away from Hamilton, and at the end of the day, there it went. We passed him, so what can I say? Meanwhile, the two racing points were battling each other, including Devin Butler, so I don't know which one of them came out on top, but they are both behind Hamilton. Hamilton's definitely pulled away from them and is closing up to us at a rapid pace. DRS should be opening up on the next lap, and either way, Hamilton is going to have a major pace advantage down this front straightaway, so I'm all ready to concede the position to Lewis Hamilton. And as DRS opens up,
the pit window, you'll be on the mediums.
well, first of all, the pit window is opening up. Second of all, DRS is open, and now that DRS is open, if you remember the last race, what we did with Valtteri Bottas, we let him pass us and then tried to stay within DRS range as long as we could to pretty much draft away from the rest of the midfield pack. That's what we're going to try to use Lewis Hamilton for right now. Even though we have every opportunity to overtake Hamilton, Hamilton doesn't even get that good of an exit here. We have a chance to go underneath him. It's not worth fighting him. I just want to draft Lewis Hamilton. He's definitely going to be faster through this second sector, so let's just let him do his thing. Let him, you know, punch the air, and we'll just follow him through, and we'll even save some fuel in the process. All we have to do is stay within a second of Lewis Hamilton on the Delta. By the time we cross the DRS zone detection zone, which was right there, I believe, actually might have been a little bit beforehand. Either way, we are within that 1 second, and that means we are going to get DRS down this straightaway. There are 3 DRS zones at this track, this back straightaway, and then the first 2 straights at this track. And that first straightaway is very long, so we could get DRS down that, which pretty much leads to DRS down the next straight. That's a major advantage for us as we try to pull away from Sergio Perez, who is slotted in P7. As we check the minimap, Lando Norris is in a ton of traffic, not exactly looking pretty good to finish in the points, so he might have to use some pit strategy, maybe try to undercut to try to find himself in a better position by the end of this race. Looking up ahead, it looks like the Red Bull Verstappen is tightly behind Leclerc, and as Hamilton approaches those two, you can only think back to the first race of the season in Australia where those two were scrapping for the win. It won't be for the win if Hamilton gets there, but oh, there's a scrap already going on. Look at, they're side by side up ahead. Meanwhile, we are close to our pit window, it sounds like, judging from what the team radio said last lap, so I might be making a pit stop this lap. It depends on if they box me in. Depends on how the tires feel, of course. They don't feel like they're falling off too much. We're still keeping up with Hamilton, of course. And as long as we are within DRS range of Lewis, I definitely want to stay out on the track to ride just DRS cheese as much as I can. Like, just nothing else to call it but straight up DRS cheesing. And Lewis is actually dragging us along to Verstappen and Leclerc's scraps. So if we can stay behind these guys, that would be a dream scenario. So once again, down the back straightaway, we've got DRS. We do not have a good exit though, and that's going to hinder our progress. Even though we do have DRS, we're still losing time to Hamilton, and Hamilton is definitely going to smoke us through this sector, through these couple of corners, I should say, and that might make us lose DRS range. So we ride on board here with Pierre Gasly, the other Red Bull, the forgotten man, because he is about to break down. Maybe this explains why he's going slow, because his car is about to experience a mechanical failure as he bottlenecks the field behind him, eventually pulls off to a pull-off area.
Some information on Weber, they seem to have an issue. Caution, caution, the virtual safety car is out. Reduce speed and maintain a positive delta. Pitting this lap then, come into the pits at the end of this lap, drop your speed, our delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
Alrighty, so as I was going to explain about how Pierre Gasly was trying to pull off the track, he didn't do it in a safe enough manner, even though he tried to, because he did nearly cause a multi-car crash. I don't think one of the Alfa Romeos nearly had a repeat of the last race in Australia when both of the Alfa Romeos hit the back of Kevin Magnussen, whose car was breaking down. We have made a pit stop under the VSC to try to save some time.
VSC ending, we're going green. Maintain positive delta until the green flags. We'll be doing one more stop today. One stop left in our strategy.
Alrighty, that's definitely not what I wanted to hear. So as we are about to end the VSC, I made the pit stop to try to save time. That's a strategy used in Formula 1. If you don't know, if you're like a Madden guy checking this one out, obviously you're a Formula 1 fan, you understand what I did, but you might be kind of confused by the team message saying that we have one more pit stop available. I thought that our pit window opened up on the 4th lap of the race and we could switch to medium tires and take them to the end of the race. My hope is that we can, you know, majorly undercut the rest of the midfield so we could solidify ourselves in P6 it would be now, because Gasly's not even going to be a factor. He's out of the race. He wasn't really a factor beforehand, so if we could get P6, that would be nice. We're going to switch cameras for a second and go on board with, I believe this is Charles Leclerc, who is about to get in, of course, another scrap with Max Verstappen as we switch a couple of cameras. Here comes Max on the inside. These two cannot stay apart from each other. They are stuck to each other like glue. The three of them, in fact, because here comes Hamilton. He wants a piece of the action, because why not? Once again, this is not for the lead. This is for P3 on track, because Vettel and Bottas are ahead. You see Bottas off in the distance. We are not in the picture because we pitted, so that effectively puts the two racing point cars in, what, P6 and P7. We are almost...
Data shows the tyres are okay right now. We anticipate good levels of grip for the next few laps at least.
So yeah, we are in the back of the pack. The only car that is behind us that's running right now is Kubica, who seems to be way off the pace, but of course that is pretty realistic. And as I'm trying to get updates on our tire wear, I'm trying to figure out, do we really have to make one more pit stop? I don't, based on what I've done in practice, like, this is where practice really comes in here. Running like a 5-lap stint on the medium tires, I know those tires didn't wear out so much in 5 laps, so we doubled the stint, make it a 10-lap stint to end the race. I believe we can pull this thing off, as those guys were continuing to scrap, but Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are going to put a temporary hold on that battle by coming down into the pits. Sebastian Vettel also pits from the lead, and since Vettel was pitting from the lead, he gets first for pretty much preferential treatment since he was ahead of Leclerc. Leclerc has to stay on the track for an extra lap. We'll see how that affects him. Meanwhile, we are closing on to the back of Albon and crew, even though they have not pitted yet. I was hoping they pit this lap because I don't want to get held up by them on track, but that might be the scenario. Meanwhile, you look at the right side, the drivers that have pitted, including Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, we have come out ahead of the two of them. Meanwhile, you see Vettel up ahead on the track. Vettel has very keenly come out ahead of Albon and one of the, it looks like one of the Haas cars and maybe one of the Alfa Romeos. So that was a big move by Ferrari to get Vettel in clean air so he can push ahead. Meanwhile, we are about to be in this scrap of Albon and whomever, but the major story is the fact that we have undercut Hamilton and Verstappen. So that puts us in position to finish in a very good position. I can only assume. I don't know what it'll be. We'll have to wait and see how this pit sequence cycles out. Meanwhile, we are closing on the back of Albon. First things first, let's try to get through Albon and Grosjean cleanly, because they are struggling as their tires are just begging for them to be taken off. They're on their last threads as they scrap with these worn out tires. Oh man, Grosjean locking up. He nearly gets into Albon. We're going to try to overtake the both of them. It looks like Grosjean's about to pit, and we nearly crash into him. Albon trying to fight back at us.
Pit this lap, so push now.
The pit crew is telling us to pit this lap right up ahead. That's Valtteri Bottas. It looks like Albon is locked up. We have knocked wheels with Alexander Albon. Bottas, meanwhile, is just going to barely squeak ahead of us. A key move by Mercedes to get Bottas once again ahead of Albon, just like Ferrari did. But Bottas will be behind Vettel. That pretty much means that we should be in P3. So let's check out the replay of what exactly happened here as Romain Grosjean was about to pit. I had a feeling that he was going to come down pit road. I saw him creeping down a little bit, and I know the way the AI races at this track, and they just suddenly bolt the pit road. I've actually crashed into an AI before that was about to make a pit stop, and I had no idea. So I suppose I have experience in that, and I use that to my advantage by not crashing there. That was evasive action, to say the least. The fact that we were able to avoid Grosjean as he was making that hard right-hand turn, and then we're able to get away from Albon, and I don't know if getting held up by those guys prevented us from staying ahead of Bottas. Once again, that's not really my concern, fighting these guys, but we have put ourselves in a position to maybe finish ahead of some of the front runners.
Box this lap, please.
Well, if we don't have to pit, of course. The crew, Jeff, is just screaming at me to come down pit road multiple times, but what I'm going to do is what every F1 2019 player does in the video game. Ignore Jeff, right? I'm not coming down pit road. I believe our tires can make it to the end of this race, and I'm going to at least try to push these tires as long as I can. If they blow out, whatever. It's 100% worth the gamble for me. It's either we finish in like P6 or we could finish a little bit higher. And right now we're running pretty decent lap times. So you know what? Let's just stick with these tires and see what happens. But I'm pretty convinced that we should be able to finish this race on the tires we are running on. They're going to be pretty worn out, don't get me wrong, but it's better than making an extra pit stop. Making an extra pit stop is somewhere between like, what, 22 and 25 seconds on this track, I believe. So I'd rather not do that, and I'd rather be in P3, which is what we are right now. Bottas not too far up ahead. I'm trying to stay within DRS range of Valtteri for all I can right now with 5 laps to go in this. Actually, it's just a little over 5 laps to go in this race. Are we going to be in DRS range here? Not quite, not quite. So we're going to switch cameras for a second because everybody's favorite trio, they're back at it. They're scrapping. Behind us, it's Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc side by side into the first corner. Charles trying to stay on that right side, but Lewis is able to accelerate away. That'll give Max Verstappen a quick peek, or Charles Leclerc can come back at Hamilton because he does have DRS open. Actually, look like Hamilton got DRS there. I'm not quite sure, but either way, we have to go to the team radio because I think they still want us to pit.
Pit in this lap, and remember the speed limit. We'll be penalised if we exceed it. Keep that in mind as you approach.
I don't think I saw those tires, but they're not looking too shabby right now. They're not looking like tires that are saying, take me off, we need a new set. They're saying, we can go the rest of the way, trust us. Even though the team continues to call us down pit road, I'm not pitting, man.
Okay, I'm sure you can feel it already, but we're starting to notice some tyre wear now. They should be good for a while longer, though.
So even the team agrees with me that these tires should be good for a while longer, and 4 laps to me is a little while longer, so there is some drama here, but I wouldn't say major drama because I'm pretty confident that these tires can make it. Of course, I could be 100% wrong, we can experience a puncture, but at this point, we are actually lapping pretty decently, not faster than the guys behind us, but decent enough to keep. Okay, I believe that was just something about fuel right there, nothing really too important, but we're actually lapping pretty close to Lewis Hamilton in P4, mainly because, you know, we scrapping with Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen every lap, and that means that we could potentially finish on the podium, which is major for us. Oh, no, we're not pinning. That's a major fake right there. I wanted to see if anybody can fall for that. Anybody watching this video will fall for that, thinking I'd come down pit road. So I'm gonna try to do all I can to finish on the podium. Worst case scenario, like I believe these tires can make it. We get passed by this trio when we finish in 6th, which was about where I believe we would have finished if we didn't pit a lap earlier under the VSC. If we do finish P3 though, then that's just a major pit strategy W for us at McLaren. The fact that, you know, we made the heads up call right there. As the VSC came out, we were close to the pit lane, and I decided that I believe we're in the pit window, and even though the tires might be worn out by the end of the race, it's worth coming down pit road under the VSC to save that time. And you can tell how much time we saved because we overtook. Oh yeah, I don't know. I almost got fooled right there, thinking I was coming down pit road. We run our fastest lap while doing that fake by over 1/10 of a second. So there's definitely pace in this car, and we're running laps even with Hamilton's Mercedes right now. One more time, here comes Charles Leclerc. Every single lap going into this first corner, the DRS is open for Leclerc, but he just cannot make the move stick. We go on board with Max Verstappen though, because Charles Leclerc is not done just yet. He wants to go inside on Hamilton once again, having a peek. Hamilton in a vulnerable position, but he's gonna get that acceleration off the corner, and Hamilton is still in P4 of this race. Verstappen, the opening race winner at Australia, can only manage 6th place right now. By the way, Vettel is just absolutely running away with this race right now. You see Bottas a little bit ahead of me. Vettel is way ahead of me. And as I'm keeping up with Bottas, you know, once again, I'm thinking we might have to upgrade the difficulty. And I'm not sure I'll do it for the next race in China. Maybe the race after. We'll see how China goes. I'm just blistering fast, and we 100% have to change the difficulty. Once again, I'm not sure if I'm just, like, decently at Bahrain driving well, or hold on a second, team radio.
This is your final lap. This is your final lap of the race.
So yeah, I'm not sure I'm decent at Bahrain, because I know I'm not that good at China. So China's going to be a good indication of how our pace is. And then the next race is at Baku, and I suck at Baku, to be quite frank. So if we are faster than Lando and, you know, the best of the rest and all that by a couple of tenths, then I'll just up the difficulty to like 95, and we'll see what happens, because we need somewhat of a challenge. Like, I don't want to be running laps similar to Lewis Hamilton, which is what we're doing right now. It's admirable, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Like, we're about to get a podium, but at the same time, like, we got to make this competitive. And not competitive in the fact that we're competing with the top teams, but competitive between our own teammate. That is our rivalry, so that should be a focal point of this series, not us stealing a podium in our second race. This is not what I expected to happen in this series at all. Obviously, part of the reason why we're stealing this podium is because of pit strategy, but also a part of that is the fact that we have been able to hold off Hamilton, Leclerc, and Verstappen, maintaining that gap at a little under 2 seconds for the entire second half of this race. So we check in on Sebastian Vettel, see how he's doing. He looks like he's pretty chill, and he should be pretty happy because as he comes off the final corner, he is about to take the checkered flag. First place, he is the victor in Bahrain. Valtteri Bottas is going to get P2 for Mercedes, and we are about to no, we're not about to put our car in pit road. Are you guys mad? We're putting McLaren on the podium.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
Here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Fermé. What a fantastic race it was. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
So yeah, we steal a podium in the second race. We are very fortunate with the way our career has started off. We got rain to start off in Australia and a safety car, both of those helping us out. And in the second race, we used the VSC to our advantage. The fact that there is a safety car and a VSC in the first 2 races of our career is kind of shocking. That doesn't happen too often in this game. So we're definitely going to use those to our advantage. We're going to keep the difficulty at 90. Going into China. We'll see how China goes, and then I might adjust it for Baku, or we'll save the upgrade after Baku. But let's go to the media.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
I wouldn't say cutting my way through the field. We didn't exactly overtake anybody on the track besides Lewis in the first corner. We just cheesed with the VSC.
Everything went your way today. It looked like you had a really good strategy for the race.
Now we're talking, Claire. Now you're not just asking me some questions that I can't answer straight up. We had great strategy, and that's how we got P3.
You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled.
I'm sure they are thrilled. The fact that we got third, like, McLaren could not dream of that. From a couple of years ago when Fernando Alonso was calling them GP2 engine, P3 is definitely a big turnaround.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Alrighty, so that will pretty much do it for this third part in this series. Getting third in part 3 was not exactly what I expected. One more time, I want to say that. I want to drive that point home because this isn't what we're supposed to be doing in this career mode. We're supposed to be battling for 7, battling for a top 10. This McLaren's not even the best of the rest car amongst them. So we're tugging this thing in P3. I don't know if 95 will suffice. I'm hoping it will. I don't want to like up the difficulty and then I'm just getting my butt straight up kicked, but I feel like we do need a difficulty upgrade. I probably underestimated my driving skills coming into this season is the only thing I can say. The fact that we put it at 90 and we're doing better. Like, honestly, I drove races at 90 last year and I was kind of struggling. Like, to keep up with the AI was pretty like neck and neck. Like, I'll try to race against my teammate in a race now race, but we'll see how that goes. So leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed it. We got a podium, which is pretty impressive. We gotta leave a like for that. Subscribe for more F1 2019 career mode games, and I will catch you guys next time.